Free, not fees. What are you doing? I don't know. Being awesome? Stand up a bit. I mean, yeah, go on.
Guys, this is so much easier for my voice. I can run. Okay, guys, thank you for coming. Okay, thank you for chatting. You've turned up in the rain. Clearly, you're a committed bunch. Are we committed? Yeah! Are we committed? Yeah! Awesome, guys. Good to hear. How's that for a chanter? Your little voice. Is that awesome? Awesome. Okay guys, so my name's Greg Riggs. We're here from the National Dog Trainers Federation, as you can see from this banner. Guys, we might put that on the bottom step. Actually, you know what? Let's just move that banner forward a little bit, because these guys want us right down up to here on the step. Okay, so we'll have the speakers in front here. Check, that's cool. So everyone, I guess you're going to have a little bit of trouble seeing us, but with this now working PA equipment, you shouldn't have any trouble hearing us, should you? Can you hear us up the back? You can hear us up the back say D, not B. 1, 2, 3. D, not B! No, I'm pretty sure some people up the back can't hear us. So if you can hear us up the back, you better yell properly. 1, 2, 3. D, not B! No, it's still pretty crap. 1, 2, 3. D, not B! Protect the community, guys. Do you want to be safe as possible from dog bites? Yes! Well, the Victorian government is telling us that because dogs look a certain way, they're dangerous. There's no scientific basis for it, guys. There's no evidence in that policy, okay? There's a sign right there. Let scientific evidence set the legislation, not emotion and non-qualified personnel. You're going to hear from scientists, guys. You're going to hear from science-minded people. You're going to hear from researchers. You're going to hear from vets, vet behaviourists. I'm going to hand you over now to a lady named Davies. For those of you that have followed this subject passionately, have followed since this extra kick-on that we've had added on by the Victorian government, who read The Age yesterday, guys? Yeah. 10 messages went out all over Victoria that The Age had made a sensible... The Age had made a sensible report. That was a bit of a slip of the tongue, wasn't it? Okay, the Age newspaper, let me qualify that statement one time again, had made a sensible report. And guess who was featured in that, guys? She's sure.
For the first time in 20 years, I'm questioning if I still want to do my job. My staff and I are all in tears after having to put down our first pit bull under the new legislation. We've been abandoned by an owner who put in the time for this magnificent dog to be friendly to all, shake hands, and worse still, lift my face as he passed. To all the friends that I've made in the shelter system, the council officers and others over the years, you have my thoughts with you as you're forced to pass and apply an unjust law. I've no issue with bad dogs and bad owners being labelled, but this is not the way to do it. To the unknown dog that now sleeps in the arms of my staff, with our tears, your only flaw, with our tears, may life look at you different next time, because in this life that was your only flaw. I wrote that statement on the 30th of September on Facebook, not for anyone else to see, but because I just needed to say something even if no one heard. Thank you for the invitation to speak today. My task, as I see it, is to encourage the people who've brought about this legislation to understand the impact that this is having on those who work within the industry, for their clients and the responsible pet owners. I graduated from Melbourne University 20 years ago, and over the years have worked in the shelter system and in private practice. In those many years I've spoken in public, teaching responsible pet ownership and pet safety, seminars and pet expos. I've also been involved with sporting, racing, obedience and hunting groups that utilise dogs, and a number of training organisations that teach controlled aggression tactics for personal protection and security purposes. Since the start of September, it was a very stressful time at our clinic, as I'm sure it's been in many clinics in Victoria. The restricted breed legislation has caused enormous anxiety to owners, panicked that their pets would be seized and destroyed without recourse. Vets were put into an impossible position, having to potentially decide an animal's breed and possibly its face based on a cosmetic appearance. It became apparent that the fear of litigation paralysed many veterinary professionals. Much of the advice given to myself by DPI, councils and others was confusing, contradictory and changed from day to day. We had clients and their pets referred to us from other local practices for breed certification. What we instead gave them was understanding, informed advice. I saw up to a dozen animals and their owners every day at no charge, explaining what the new laws meant for them. Most of all, to offer them the opportunity to keep their dogs safe by ensuring that they were microchipped and registered. We looked into DNA testing as a means to have their animals' breeding identified, and not one animal has come back as a bull breed mix.
Right.
Not one of the animals I met showed an ounce of malice, including those nominated by their owners as pit bull types. They're all well behaved and well trained, and it's these animals that will be labelled, that will need to be muzzled, that will never be allowed in off-lead parks, as they've done all their lives. They'll be now the lepers of the dog world, isolated from the very social experiences that have made them the well-behaved dogs they are today. This social isolation will be what brings about anxious animals that will potentially be prone to developing fear-associated and predatory behaviours. We've seen clients in our clinic abused by others of being irresponsible for owning such dangerous dogs, stating that they should be ashamed of themselves. Not one of the clients targeted owned a restricted breed dog. One was a black Labrador, another was a Great Dane, and the last was a Beagle cross Kelpie. It concerns me that the public are targeting other owners with a minimum of knowledge regarding restricted breeds. Homes and families that live inside them are to be labelled with owners made to display signs advertising their restricted breed dog, apparently to ensure the safety of emergency service workers. The general community as a whole appears to have a questionable ability to identify many animals by breed, as shown in breed attacks in the past, and quite frankly the media gets it wrong a significant proportion of the time too. The terms restricted breed and dangerous dog are used interchangeably with little or no understanding of this stark difference between the two. And some owners, I believe, are genuinely afraid of being labelled and being targeted and have chosen instead to abandon their dogs. As you'd understand, over the last 20 years, I've also administered more than my share of lethal injections to both pets and strays, but until now I've never had trouble justifying what I've done. Whether it was for reasons of illness, injury, overt aggression, to relieve suffering, or in the case of unowned animals that didn't have a home to go to, a meal provided, that lived each day fearful, hungry and exposed, I've always been able to reconcile that euthanasia was a fair alternative. Over the years I've seen some dogs do terrible things to other animals, to each other and to humans. I can't exempt a single breed from displaying these behaviours. I've been bitten myself a number of times. Been bitten through the wrist by a Kelpie, on the face by a Westie, held by across my throat by a St Bernard, and through the eye socket by a Chihuahua, temperament tested and adopted from one of Melbourne's major shelters only 2 hours earlier. So there is no breed of dog that is incapable of undesirable behaviour. Dog yards should be secured to prevent dogs from roaming. Dogs that display aggressive tendencies should be housed under more stringent conditions. And people should be kept safe from dangerous dogs, and the dangerous and menacing laws allow us to do that. Dogs and owners should undertake socialisation and training stages right from the puppy stage. I don't believe that vets and council rangers should be placed in an unenviable position of having to manage this legislation. The Australian Veterinary Association was approached regarding the inclusion of breed breed identification certificates in the legislation, and they categorically declined to be involved in breed appearance-specific legislation. Yet, it appeared in the legislation anyway. The Municipal Councils Association of Victoria was approached regarding this matter. They stated that they did not believe it would work and did not want their legislations officers in charge of enforcing this new law. Yet, it appeared anyway. The Department of Primary Industries advised the Minister that they were not in favour of this type of legislation that had been tried and failed. Yet, they're in charge of administering it. On the 30th of September, I met a lovely dog who looked like he'd led a fairly rough existence. He was scarred with the marks of life, some older than others. He was outgoing and happy, introduced himself to everyone at the clinic with a wag of his tail and a paw-off-it-in handshake. He approached the other pets at the clinic at the time with the same introduction. A Rottweiler, a Spitz and our clinic cat all shared a few pleasant moments with him. Some weeks earlier, in the same position, he could have been placed in a loving family system through the shelters. On the 30th of September, that came no more. Instead, he spent a few moments with our staff and with our pets and with our clients, and they were to be some of his last. On the 30th of September, he gained a label, and the legislation was no longer just words open to interpretation. His fate was sealed for no other reason than because of his rather rugged but still handsome looks. This was the moment that the pressures of the previous weeks, the unfairness of a politically motivated law born from human tragedy, claimed yet another innocent victim. And so I finish as I started. To the life of the unknown dog that now sleeps in the arms of my staff with our tears, may life look different upon you next time, because in this life that was your only flaw.